Good morning, everyone. Any questions from previous topic? No?
Yeah, hi Sudha.
Yes. Hi.
So my question is like in real time, generally which command we are using, AT or data DKPG
No, no, no. In
application?
real time, see, I told you the scenario, right? See, always in all the conditions, we use APT command. Most probably 90% we use APT command. But there would be certain circumstances where you have a patch version that you have to deploy on your server. Okay, a single package. Okay, you got it from particular download or something like that. There could be some particular chances. In those conditions, when you don't have an option, you have to go for DPKG. In all other conditions, you will go for APT. That is for sure. Because
Okay, so that
in the
mm,
organizations, the package will get stored in the repository. Okay. So from the repository, if you want to download and install it, generally we use APT command, not DPKG.
okay. So it depends on requirement, right?
Depends. See, sometimes I have to use DPKG. Why? Because if I want to see the package information and all, I feel like DPKG is more comfortable rather than APT command. For installation of the packages, removal of the packages and all, I will go for that. And for example, I want to delete a single package, not any other package. In those conditions, I would prefer DPKG command. It doesn't delete any other packages, right? Dependency packages or other packages.
Yes, yes.
So it depends upon the scenario. At that particular specific time, we have to pick. Now we know the functionality of each and every command, right?
Yes.
Now, instead of logging in every time from this particular command prompt, you guys can install some application called MobaXterm in the browser. Just you can search for an application with the name called MobaXterm. I'll just give you the name MobaXterm. Okay. So you can download this particular application. It looks like this. When you open, I'll just show you. You can download this one. Okay, get MobaXterm now, or you can say download. Here, do not go for professional edition. Home edition is fine. Click on download. Again, it will give you two options. One is installer edition and one is portable edition. We have to give installer edition, not portable. Okay, select this, it will download. After that, next install. That is the simple steps. Once you have installed it, okay, I'll give you this particular link in the chat. You can use it as a reference. And one more question. With the post what I've done yesterday, are you guys are able to see it before joining the session? This particular post, messages and all. When you're trying to join the Teams meeting, are you able to see the previous chat as well? Any confirmation, please?
Yes. Yes, yes.
Because yesterday I posted there is no session, so that's the reason. I just want to confirm because we don't have a proper WhatsApp group, right? Not everybody is added, so that's the reason. Anyways, coming
For
back to the
me, it's
point.
not updated.
Okay, thank you. Now in this mobile system, just have to go to sessions. Which type of connectivity I need to use? SSH. So SSH. Give the remote host, nothing but IP address or a server name. Here we have to give IP address. In this particular scenario, we have to give local host. Why? Because we are using port forwarding, right? That's the reason. Name is test user in my case, and the port number is not 22 by default, it's 2424 since we are using a port forwarding. And then, okay, accept, give the password for the first time. The advantage of this application is you will give the password for the first time and you will save it in the application. So tomorrow, if I need to log in, for example, I'm showing you, I'm closing this one. You can see I've already connected. I just want to close this. The session got closed, but the details are saved here. Tomorrow, if I want to re-log in, I don't need to type and remember all the details. Just have to double click, it will try to connect. That's it. I can continue with my work. Okay. So this is one of the thing. And let me switch to the root user for now. Yep. So with the previous topic, we are done with package management. Yes, I.
Yeah, so this is my first session as I'm joining. So I've downloaded Mobile Extern, but what I'm trying to do at this point is there like going to be an image that I would need to install, or what would I need to do from this particular point on?
Uh, okay. So if you are familiar with any other virtual machine concept, right? I would say in order to practice all these particular topics which I'm going to show from today, means from the previous sessions and all, from the day one, we are going to use Oracle VirtualBox, an application to create a virtual machines. And on this virtual machines, we are practicing all the tools what we are going to learn. So if you are familiar with VMware Workstation and any other tool, you can utilize it. We don't have any restriction. The only thing is within your local system, you have to practice.
Oh, so we need to get a virtual machine configured that we could access through Mobile Extern and
Yeah.
then just practice
So
on it. And it has to be Linux or it has to be Ubuntu. It has to be CentOS. Which one?
right now we are using Ubuntu for this entire training program. We are using Ubuntu since it is open source and widely used. That's the reason.
Okay.
And in Ubuntu, these particular specific things, if you want to know what we have configured, how it is configured, in the demo session, after the demo session, we have a couple of recordings where I've clearly shown them what is the step-by-step process that you have to do in order to configure this. I think you better go through that. You'll get a clear picture of what can be done, and you can do it in the same way.
Okay, sure. Can
Yep.
we also use like another ISO image instead of Ubuntu?
Yes. Which means on a single system, my laptop, I can configure n number of systems if I have a proper resources by
I
using that
can
application.
I can configure CentOS,
Yes,
CentOS 8.
CentOS. Yeah, yeah, you can. But CentOS is getting deprecated, right?
Yeah,
You
yeah, it's
so
deprecated, but
yeah,
I
let
have
us not practice on that and waste our time. Yeah, maybe the reason why you have asked, I can guess that you are interested in RHEL operating system, right?
yeah, yeah, I am Red Hat 8. Uh,
So we cannot purchase that license, right? So obviously,
yeah,
alternative is CentOS. Yeah, you can go ahead with that.
okay, no problem. Yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for
Thank
answering
you.
all the questions. I'll listen to what you have to say.
Sure. Yeah. So in the previous session, we have talked about package management, like how to install a package, how to remove the package, how to upgrade a package, all these things. Few topics have not discussed. I know what is this, but those topics will be discussed in the upcoming sessions. Okay. I'll tell you one of the example. Without installing the package, I want to know what are the package that is available in the repository without going to the browser and search for it. From the operating system CLI command itself by using apt command. So specific. By using apt command, we will come to know what package and you have to know the package name. That particular package, what kind of versions are available in the in the repository. We can know that. It's possible to do. So these kind of next level things we will discuss in the upcoming sessions. This is just a startup for us. Okay. Yeah. Now today's topic is all about user management. User management in the sense, for example, in your organization, you have a server. In that, you are deploying some particular applications or a tools or a software, some XYZ. Okay. Now you have an administrator or maybe administrators in your organization because why we should have multiple administrators, not more than four or five or something like that. Just administrators, couple of them. Why? Because alternative. If one person is not available, another person has to pitch in and he has to do that particular specific task. Not as a see, you cannot wait for the person until he is back, right? So the things has to go on in your organization. So we need to have some alternative as well. So that's the reason why I'm saying you couple of administrators. Now there could be a scenario where a developers need some particular access to that particular server to perform some specific task. Okay. So, or maybe another administrator as well. Will you share your credentials to them? That is not a best practice, as we all know. For example, we are using Facebook. Some particular person wants to post something to his family or relative or something like that. Will I share my credentials to him and ask him to do that particular task and all? No, right? He has to create his own account and he has to create some particular post. Okay. So similar to that, everybody is using Facebook application. So imagine Facebook is like your server, and every account is an individual login or individual user, you can say. Similar to that, this particular server, I cannot share my credentials as per the policy, as per the security, whatever it is, as per the governance. This is not a recommended approach to share my credentials across the team members to provide an access. And that too, I have full access. Someone can misuse it, right? My system cannot understand who is that physical person. It can understand only, okay, this particular person has logged in and this is the password. It knows only that. Okay. So that is the reason why, in order to overcome this particular scenarios and all, we have to create an individual user access. So in order to do that, first of all, we need to know what are the types of users we have in operating system and how we have to create a users, how to delete a user, how to set a password of the user, how what is meant by group, how to add a user to the group. Can we have a multiple groups, which means a user can be added to a multiple groups or not? All these things we have to discuss. Okay. So let us come back to the point where I have a documentation. Let me open that. Uh, mm, Users and permissions. Yeah. So this document I will share in the classroom. So let me try to create a classroom today so that I can share all the documents over there. Class. So, uh, just a second. I just want to create a new folder. Is it possible to do? Okay. I'm just saying I just want to create a folder and under that I want to create it. But here it's not possible. Fine. Let me create a new one. Create a class. Continue. AWS. DevSecOps. Mm, me batch. 25. Sorry. Section. AWS Cloud. Subject. DevSecOps. Okay. Create. So this is our classroom, which means I will share all the documents are over here. And you people, if you want to comment something and all, you can just comment out here as well. So this is a class code, which means I'll copy this particular invite link and I will share it to you guys. You can log in with your Gmail account. Okay. So just go to the browser or in your mobile application, you can install Classroom, Google Classroom or iOS. There is an application as well, or you can use web browser. So log in with your Gmail account. You no need to use any what do you say? Visual Path will not share you, or sorry, any other organization will not share any passwords to you. Okay, you from whichever organization you're joining. So that is the reason why just log in with your Gmail account. Once you have logged in, it will ask you the class code. That class code is nothing but this one. Okay, you will see an option like this, plus symbol. Click that. You should not use create class. You have to use an option called join class. Here we have to give the code. Okay, simple. So which code you have to give? This one. All these are small letters. Let me just copy it. And I'll give you the questions and all, and this those particular questions can be answered here itself as an assignment. You can say classwork, how many people have joined, everything I can check here itself. Okay. Yeah. So let me upload the document at the end of the session. Okay. Not now. So now. Okay. Hmm. Let me go back. So here there are totally four types of users in Linux operating system. I think you can see it. So let me zoom out. Yeah. Hope it is much visible. Yeah. So user management is all about the topic for today. How many types of users will be there in Linux operating system? Types in the sense, based on the requirement, we will try to create those kind of users. Okay. By default, every Linux operating system will have a super user. Like how Windows has a super user, right? In Windows, I told you what is a super user? Administrator. In Windows, it is called as administrator, right? For example, if I need to open any application, for example, I will say you PPT. We have an option called here, run as administrator. You can open this application as a normal user, which I am right now, or you can open this application as an administrator. So administrator is a super user of Windows operating system. So similar to that in Linux, we have a super user called root. Okay, and that particular user will be only one. You cannot see multiple root users. Impossible, right? User can be created with only one name and you cannot duplicate that name, right? So duplicate users cannot be created. Obviously, the root user will be only one per system. Okay, in that particular system right now, what I'm using, I have only one root user, obviously. So if you want to know who you are right now, I've logged into this particular system and there is a session created for me. Session in the sense the terminal where I'm executing the commands to interact with the operating system, right? So here, who am I right now? As I told you last time, who am I? I'm a root user. Either you can execute this command or you can check on the CLI itself. Okay. Now I'm the root user. I don't have any restrictions. I can execute whatever the command I want. For example, installing the packages or running the apt update command. If I have network connectivity, I will be able to execute the command. It is not throwing any error for me, right? Saying permission denied, you're not allowed to execute that command. These kind of errors, I'm not able to see it. Why? Because I have full privileges as a root user. Okay. And what is the root user's home directory? Root user home directory. So what is the root user home directory? It will be slash root. As I told you, slash is one directory. It is called as root directory, root file system directory. Just remember like that, root directory, root file system directory. So I would say it is root file system directory. Okay, slash. Okay. Now, under that, we have a directory called root. Where is it? Oh, here it is. Okay. Now, what is the home directory of the root user? What is meant by home directory? When you log into a system with that particular user, by default, you will be under that particular folder. You will be inside that particular folder. When you log into a system with that user, by default, you will be in that particular specific folder. That is called as home directory of the user. Now, what is the home directory of the root user? It is slash root. Under slash, we have a directory called root. So slash is one directory, root is one directory. That's what you have to understand by now. Okay, I'm inside that particular directory. You can see pwd present working directory where you are right now under slash root. Now, what are the files I try to create? Those particular files will get created under here. Files could be anything, right? It could be directory or it could be a file. Together we call it as files. As I told you, in the previous sessions. Done. So this is all about a minimal understanding of root user. Now, next one is sudo user. See, I told you we can have only one super user in Linux operating system or any other operating system. It is not specific to Linux. Now, I want to create a user in the operating system, but for that particular user, I want to give similar permissions of root user. Similar, almost 99%. What are the permissions we have in the root user? What he can do? I want to give similar permissions to one of the user in my system. Now that user is called as sudo user. To whom you will give a temporary root access is called as sudo user. Okay. You can't create a sudo user directly in Linux operating system. First, you have to create a user, and for that user, you have to give sudo permissions. I'll tell you what is that, how to do that. But that is all about sudo user. By default, if you want to know in operating system who is a sudo user, if you remember, while installing operating system, you have created one user, right? We are using that user to log into your system. He is by default a sudo user. He is by default a sudo user. Let me show you. I am a test user right now. This particular test user is a sudo user. How I can prove that? Just I will show you one command. I will try to run apt update command. It will not work. It will fail. Why? Because permission denied. You don't have a permission to execute this command. But as per my previous statement, what I've told you, he is a sudo user, right? Technically, he should able to execute this command. Yes, it is true. Okay. But what happened here is nothing but your system is not able to understand when you run this command whether you are a sudo user or not. You have to tell, right, I am a sudo user. So without saying that, if you execute a command like this, it will treat that as a normal user, though you are a sudo user. That's the reason why it got failed with permission denied. So how you have to convey that I am a sudo user? Before executing those commands, you have to give sudo. Okay, not for all the commands, only for specific commands. Now enter. It is asking for a password of the test user, means sudo user. In my case, it is test123, and now enter. If the password is valid, now we can say I'm able to execute this command. In the backend, what happened is, though you are running this command from test user, but here I gave sudo. What does it mean? You have triggered this command, but this is actually executed in the backend by whom? Root user. Okay, little bit confusion part. You have executed this command, but in the backend, who has triggered this particular command? This one, by a sudo. Sudo in the sense nothing but a root user. Okay, for us, we are able to execute the command. That's what we believe. But in the backend, it was actually triggered by you, but executed by root user. But if you need to execute that by the root user, you have to tell I'm a sudo user. If you are a sudo user, you will be able to execute. It is as simple as that. Yeah, question please. I think someone raised a hand. Any question? No? Okay, thank you. Now, let us go to the next one. So that is sudo user. Normal user in the sense what? A basic user that you create. For example, he can also be a normal user, which means if I try to execute some command which is not allowed, I can execute my commands in my home directory. But if I try to do any other task in any other directory, it will fail. Those are normal users. For example, can I execute a command to create a file here? Any answers to it? Can I create a files under this particular directory? Now this one is a test user home directory. You can see where is a test user's home directory under slash home. Under that you have test user. This is the home directory of the test user. Now if I execute this command, it will show the list of files under this particular home directory. Fine. Now, can we create any files under this particular directory? Will
Yes,
that be allowed?
we can.
Yes, we can, because I'm the test user and I'm the owner of this particular test user home directory. Obviously, I have permissions. I can create a file or I can create a directory. I'm just trying to create a directory. You can see it is successful, and I will be able to create a file as well. As simple as that. Let us say demo file. Who is the owner of that? Test user. Later we'll discuss when we talk about permissions tomorrow. We'll talk about what is this. Any questions until here? I see some hands have been raised.
In the real world, how users will be segregated? Like only this administration access, everybody will not get, right? I mean, you everybody cannot
Obviously.
update.
So that's what we are too early to about. You will understand this one when we talk about permissions.
Okay.
Okay. Creating a user is one task. It is nothing but identity. What does it mean? Who has to log in? Okay. The person who has logged in, it doesn't mean that everybody can do the task, right? We have to set some permissions. So this is all about permissions, what you assign. So based on the permissions what you have, it will allow us whether to do that particular task or not. So when I talk about permissions, you will understand this concept for the question what you have asked.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other questions, please? I see one more hand has been raised.
Yeah. So moving further into this coaching session, um, are the EC2 instance spin up going to be based off of Ubuntu distribution?
We can spin up whatever we want, right? So the concept we have to understand is how we have to manage EC2 instance. It's not about what is an operating system inside it. Understood, right? My scenario. So let us say
Okay.
since I'm working on AWS cloud, I'm not worried about what kind of operating system I have installed inside it. I have to know end to end the functionalities that is provided by the AWS service EC2.
Makes sense.
You
Thank
can
you.
install you can install CentOS, you can install Ubuntu, Windows, Mac, whatever you want.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any further questions or shall we go ahead? Yep. Now, next thing. The last type of user we have in operating system is system users. System users are the normal users only, but those are created for the purpose of your application or your software or maybe certain programs, okay, to get executed, but they're not meant for login. Those system users are not created as part of authenticating, means logging into your system. Okay. So example, I will show you. When you install some particular packages on Linux operating system, it will try to create some user, and the process ID which is created for that application will be ran by that user. Okay. For now, in a simple way which I can say is, I'll show you practically. But just try to understand for now. System users are the users which will be used to run your application on the system. Okay. These are not meant for authentication. Okay. I cannot share system users to log into my operating system. First of all, the system users will not have any password configured. First thing. So obviously you cannot log in. Second thing, for the system users, they will not provide any shell. If even though if you have any password set, if you don't have a shell, you cannot run the commands. Okay, these two things are so important. Those will not be configured to the system user. They are meant only to run some particular process in your system for that application. Instead of using root user or any other user, they will be running that particular application process IDs by using that user. Those are called as system users. In a simple term to understand right now, to go forward. Okay. So these are the four types of users that we have in the operating system of Linux. You take any operating system, the concept will be the same. Nothing will get changed. Okay. So I told you what is root user, how to means we don't create a root user. It is by default available once you have installed the operating system. First point. Second point, what is a root user's home directory? By default, in any Linux operating system, it is /root. That is a default home directory of the user. And third thing is every user in the operating system, whether you take a normal user, sudo user, root user, or system user, every user will have a unique ID, UID. Okay, every user. Now, by default, the root user ID will be 0. It will start from 0. Obviously, if you want to know that, or if you want to see it, let me just show you. I want to know what is the ID of this particular user. The simple command is, the command itself is ID. So what is the ID of the current user which I've logged in? 0. UID, user ID. User is root. There is something called group ID. Every user will have a group as well. So the group ID is also 0. The name itself is root. By default, if you don't provide anything with the same username, a group will get created. So a root user, when the root user got created while installing operating system, with the same name, it has created a group. Okay. And these are the IDs of that particular user. User ID, group ID. Okay. For example, I want to see the ID of, can someone please go on mute? I hear someone is unmuted. Thank you. Yeah. So here the point is, for example, as a root user, administrator, I want to see the use ID of other users. Okay, for example, I know the username called test user. I want to see the ID of that user. ID and the username. Let us say test user. You can see the ID of this particular user is 1000. I'll tell you what is the reason for 1000. Why not 1, 2, 3 like that? Okay. And here you can see the group ID. With the same name, it has created a group. You can't expect the ID to be same, but here the IDs are same. Okay, just a clause. Now this particular user, I told you, can be a part of one group or maybe another groups. For example, you have a WhatsApp. Okay, you have multiple groups. You have family groups, friends groups, or maybe colleagues, right? You might be working in some particular company or organization. You have a group for that. You have a family members. You have a different groups for your whole family or individual family, or you have your friends. You have your own group, buddy group, or something like that. Now you can be a part of multiple groups, right? I can see the notifications of all other groups as well if I'm part of it. So here, this particular user is part of multiple groups. Okay, multiple groups. You can see the groups here and their IDs. By default, he is part of this particular group. This is called as primary group. So there are two types of groups. Primary. A user can be a part of primary group and secondary group. Secondary groups. So what is secondary group here? This one. All these rest of the groups are called as secondary group. Why I have told you directly this is a primary group? Why not this one? You can see whatever you see here, that is your primary group. Rest of the groups are secondary group. This is your primary. Okay. So this is one thing that you have to remember. Okay. Later we will see how to create a groups and all. Now we understood that a user can be a part of one group or more than one group. In that we have two categories. When your user is added to multiple groups, one will be a primary group, others will be a secondary group. Okay. And next one. For example, there is a scenario where I want to print only user ID of that particular user. Only this particular ID. I don't want to print anything, rest of this particular information. Then you have to give ID. There is an option called -u if you want to print user ID and the username. If you want to print your own user itself, So root user ID is 0, but test user ID is 1000. If you want to print a group ID, G. This particular commands will be useful when you write some particular shell script, when you fall into that requirement to pull a ID of a user. In those conditions, you have to use this one. Okay, in general scenario, just understand that if I need to pull a user information like IDs and all, you have to go for this command. Okay, now next one. Now the next question which everybody might be asking is, forget about this ID, how it is getting assigned and all. That is the last phase for it. But you need to understand that every user will have an ID and every group also will have an ID. User ID, group ID. Okay. What is the range of that particular user ID and group ID? There will be one file where you can get the information of it. That we'll discuss. First of all, what are the users you are creating on the operating system where this information will get stored? There should be some database, right? For example, you have a Facebook application, or let us say Flipkart, Amazon. You will create an account over there, right? Where is your credentials? Every time when you try to log in, you will pass some username, password, or maybe mobile number and OTP, right? How your application is getting is verifying your account. If you give a wrong password, will you be allowed to log into that system? No, right? You have to give a proper username and password. Then only you will be able to log in to the Facebook, right? So in the backend, how your Facebook application is verifying your credentials, somewhere it might have been stored, right? When you have created your account, you have configured some password. Thus, that particular password is saved by your application. But your password is not getting saved in the application. Application will use some database in the backend, like MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, some database. Okay, we are not worried about that. So your application is just a web pages. It will try to show you the information, but that information will get gathered from multiple sources like databases or let us say buckets, objects, we call it as some different sources. Okay, forget about that concept. Here, why I'm saying you this one is, what are the users we try to create in the operating system? Somewhere this information will get stored in a file. Here it is in a file. Okay, what is that particular file? Every user will have username, password, right? Now that particular user information in the operating system is getting stored under /etc. To show you the information, I'm using cat command /etc/password. PASSWD, not PASSWORD. This is the file name and give enter. You can see all the users. This is a root user, and these are until here. These are system users. How I told you blindly that it is a system user. System users IDs will be from 0 to 999, except these two. You can ignore this one. This is called as nobody no group. You can ignore that. But rest of the users you can see, except this one as well. All other users are system users. System users IDs will be from 1 to 999. 0 is assigned to root user. From 1000, it is assigned to the users what you create in the system. Example, this one. This is the user what we have created while installing operating system. So it will start from 1000, 1000, 1001, 1002, 3, 4, 5 like that. What is the maximum? 65,535 maximum. That is the last one. Okay. I'll tell you where we can see this particular ranges and whether we can modify it or not. But this is the user related information. Now here we have some columns. Every column will store certain information. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So totally how many columns we have in this particular file? 7 columns. What this particular 7 columns will store? Sorry. First is a username. First is a username. You can see starting of the line. Everywhere you can see a username. Next one is X is nothing but it is pointing to a password file. password. But technically, it is not a password file. The file name is password, but technically, it is not a password of the user. Passwords of the users are stored in another file. I'll show you what is it. Okay. This is just a password link. Now, next one is user ID, group ID, user name, sorry, user description. We call it as user description. It could be a sentence like this. It could be a sentence like this as well. Or it could be a word, whatever you have given while creating the user. And then this is the home directory of the user. So what is the home directory of this user? When he logs into the system, by default, you will be under this particular directory. And what is a shell that is assigned to us to run the commands in the operating system? Bash shell. Shell is a medium for us to interact with the operating system. Okay. So for this particular user, they have it is by default given as a bash shell. Even root user is also using bash shell, the one what I've logged in right now. Okay. So what are the commands I execute from this particular terminal? It will go to the bash shell. From the bash shell, it will go to the kernel. From the kernel, it will go to the hardware. Okay. That's all. So this is the file where it will store the user related information. Now, what about the passwords of the
Shall
user?
shall I ask
Sorry.
one question, if you
Yeah.
don't mind? So basically, what is the use of this etc slash password, that command you enter, right? So it will
Okay.
show only list of the files. I just want to understand that a little bit.
This is just see, cat is a command which is used to see the information of the file. For example, I have some data inside the file, right? How I can see it? I want to print on the terminal. So if I want to print the output of this particular file, means this particular file is having some data. For example, if you want to see the content of this particular file, I have to use something like Notepad or Notepad++ or Word document like that application, and I can see the content of the file. Then what about Linux operating system? Cat command, right? And I want to see the information of this particular file. I give the path where it is,
Got it. Got it. Okay.
and that output has been printed on the terminal. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. I want to see the password of this particular users in the system. I told you password is not stored in this file, right? So shadow, the file name itself is shadow. Here we can see the password of this particular test user. For other users, you are not able to see it because it is not configured. It is as simple as that. Okay. Wherever you see exclamatory like this, the password is not configured almost. Okay. Now here you can see the password. Now this particular password is encrypted. It is not a plain text. It is encrypted. Encryption in the sense you might have heard in the graduation, we use some algorithms to encrypt the data. So why we have to encrypt the data as part of the security? It cannot be a plain text. Plain text in the sense what? By looking at that, I can tell what is that information. That is called as a plain text, where humans can read it, or a system can read it, or system can understand. That is called as a plain text. What is encrypted? Where we cannot understand. Now I doesn't know what is a password, right? It is encrypted with some special characters, alphabets, numbers, and all, right? So I'm not able to understand. You have to decrypt it. So this is how it is getting stored in this particular file, a password of a user. Okay. Rest of the things we'll discuss later, but the password information will get stored in this particular file, the username, and you can see the password of that particular user. And this is like when we have created this user, timestamp, all this information. We'll talk about this one. Okay, maybe today or maybe tomorrow if time permits. Tomorrow we have a session, guys. Do remember. This Saturday I'm taking a session because yesterday I couldn't write, so that's the reason. Yeah. Next one. So we have seen where the user information will get stored, where the password of the users will get stored. Okay. Now, what about groups? By default, we have some particular groups in the system, right? I want to see that information, where it is getting stored. That information is under /etc group. You can see the groups. You can say test user group, root user group will be there, backup group, some users group, games group, something like that. And this is a group ID. Okay, this information, guys, what are the commands I'm showing you? They are written here along with the screenshots. Okay, you don't need to worry too much about it. So it is written here. Okay, so this is all about your group information, how it is getting stored. Okay, so user information is stored in password file. User password related information is stored in the shadow file. Group information is stored in the group file. Easy to remember, not too much complex with the names. Okay. Now the question which everybody have is how to create a user. Okay. There are two commands. Either we can use user add command or we can use reverse it. Reverse the user add. It is called as add user. Simple. Either we can use this command or we can use add user as well. Okay. Any one of these commands, it's up to you. Now, first of all, let me talk about add user. I want to add a user with the name called, let us, I want to give my name itself. Okay. Enter. Now here we can see it is showing you some information while creating this particular user. It is in the process. It is not yet done. Okay. It's ongoing task right now. Adding a user with the name, whatever you have passed here, it's trying to create that particular name. That's what it is trying to say. In the second line, what it is trying to say, selecting user ID and group ID from the range from 1000 to 60,000 almost. So from this particular range, it is trying to pick some ID. So which one it is trying to pick right now? Here you can see adding a group with the name called Sudham, which means with the same name, it will try to create a group. And what is the ID of this? 1001. Why? Because 1000 is already assigned to the test user. What is the next one? 1001, 1002, like that. So that ID is getting assigned for the group. Same thing is getting assigned to the user as well. And this user is getting added to this particular group. Okay, so user ID and the group ID. And this user is getting added to this particular group. So what is the primary group of this particular user? This particular user itself. Sorry, this particular group itself. Okay. And next one, it is trying to create a home directory for this user where it is under /home. We have a test user directory. Similar to that, now it is going to create this particular directory. For which user? This user. So by default, if this user tries to log into the system, he will be under this particular directory. Next one is, it is trying to copy some skeleton files. We call it as some predefined files. Okay, those files you will not create. Those will be available by default in this particular home directory. How those are available? Because while you are creating the user, those files will be copied from here and it will get stored here once a user got created. Finally, it is asking us to set some password for this particular user. Let me give some password like test1234. Test1234. Done. What it is trying to say as a confirmation, password updated successfully. Changing the user information for this user. It is asking you, do you want to pass some additional information of the user? Full name. If you want, you can provide it. I'm not going to give it right now. Or let us say, I'll just give AWS dev. I'll just give cloud. Let us say just some dummy number. It is not necessary. Work phone, home phone number. This is not necessary. Others, if you want to specify. I'm just writing some dummy data. I'm just giving some information. Now, finally, what it is saying, is this information correct? Yes or no? The final task. Yes, it will start creating this. But whatever the information it is given you, finally, it is going to create it. If you don't want it, you can just give N and you can cancel your task. Okay. And what happened? The user was created successfully. Okay, that's what it is trying to show. How you can verify it? Now the user got created. Fine. Now let me log into that system, to the same system as a my user. So SSH -p 2424. What is the username right now? I don't want to use test user. I want to log into the system by using this user, which I've created just now. Localhost. Immediately it will ask you the password. So you have to give the password what you have configured. Test 1234 in my case. If it is valid, you will be able to log in. You can see I've logged into this particular system as a Sudham's user. So where you are right now, in which directory you are by default? Home directory of the Sudham's user. What is the home directory of it? /home/Sudhams. You can see pwd present working directory. If I run that command, it will let me know where you are right now. I'm under this particular home directory. Got it? Or any questions until here?
Do you
Anything
have
that you have
these,
missed? Yeah.
excuse me, do you have these commands listed somewhere for us?
Yeah, in the document, you can see add user command, and here you can see the example of it. How to
So
execute
is
this
this,
command.
yeah, is this stored in the teachable?
No, I will store it right now. That's what I've told, right? So after this particular session, I will upload here so you can see all the documents. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Sudham.
Yep.
Yeah, Sudham, you create a new user, so all kind of privileges are there for that user, right?
All kind of.
Privileges. Like previously, you run with the root user, right? So
No,
now you
it is
create.
not. That's what I'm about to say actually. Now, the test user is able to run some commands, right? I told you he's a sudo user. Now, by default, he's not a sudo user. What does it mean? If I try to run apt update command, it will fail, obviously. How it got failed for the test user as well. But if I try to give sudo apt update, do you think it will work or it will fail? Any guess from anyone?
It will work. You mentioned to do, right?
If I gave sudo, yeah, that's what. So if you give sudo, it doesn't mean that you are a sudo user, right? It has to verify whether you are a sudo user or not. I gave that I'm a sudo user. See, I told you that I'm a cloud architect. Whether I'm a cloud architect or not, you have to verify it, right? Understood? I can say whatever I want, but it has to verify. So similar to that, I give sudo, it doesn't mean that I'm a sudo user. My system has to verify it, right? So when you ran this one and gave the password of the Sudham's user right now. Okay, sorry. Let me give a proper password. Yeah. What it is trying to say? Sudham's
Before
is not
that,
part of the sudo's file.
so I have one question that before that we need to give all these sudo permissions to that
Yes, that is a
user,
next
right?
level. So that's what we are not
Okay.
into that particular stage right now. So I'm just
Okay.
asking like, what are the questions you have right now with the topic what I've covered? Just ask only that, because if you go beyond the boundary, right, that will create a confusion.
Okay.
So right now we are not into that particular phase. So yes, I can convert this particular user into sudo user. Then he will be able to, but we are not into that stage right now. Yeah. I'll show you that one by one. Yeah. So from this particular concept, we understood that every user is not a sudo user, right? It doesn't mean that for your question, what you have asked, I don't know who is it, but yeah, if I give sudo, it doesn't mean that you are a sudo user. It will verify, system has to verify it, whether you are a sudo user or not. That's what it has done. And it came to know that you are not a sudo user. It is as simple as that. Now, can I execute any other commands? Yes, you can. What are the commands you can execute? You can do that. For example, date command. Okay. For example, sleep command. These commands can be executed by anyone. It doesn't need any root access or a sudo access. Okay. So why I'm saying you this concept is, don't be in an assumption that every command we have to give a sudo. No. First thumb rule. For every command, it doesn't mean that your user should give a sudo, though you're a sudo user. Only for the commands that needs a root access to get executed. In those conditions, we have to give a sudo if you are a sudo user. Okay. Example, the one what I've told you, apt update command. Okay. Because in order to execute that command, it needs a sudo, what is a root access. How you will get a root access? I'm not a root user, right? So you'll pass sudo if you are a sudo user. Got the point, right? From this, at least some particular point, or still confused? No, I guess. Okay, done. Now this user got created. You can verify. Now this information will get stored in all the three files, right? Let us see them one by one. Cat /etc password. I don't want to print all the lines. So pipe grep filter, which I've told you last time. Which line I want to print right now? Any line which is having a name called Sudhams. You can see username X, user ID, group ID, and the details what you have passed, information of the user. While you created a user, you pass some information, right? That information will get stored here. Comment. And then home directory of the user and the shell. Next one. Whether the password is stored in this file or not. Let us see. Shadow. Password of the user. Next one. What about the group information of this user? Group. With the same name, it has created a group, right? Let us see that. Okay. Now, this particular users is part of this particular group as well. That's fine. You can see the group information. ID is 1001. Got it? Now, if I want to switch to the root user, sorry, Sudham's user, I can do that. I'm a root user right now. Just listen to this particular point. I'm a root user. I want to switch from this particular root user to another user. He's not a sudo user. He's a normal user. That's all. Okay, so that's the reason why I cannot use sudo space -i. That is not feasible. Okay, when we have to use this command, any answers to this? You're executing on daily basis, right? If someone has some idea.
Sorry, what's the question?
Why we execute this command? In what circumstances we run this command?
If you're in test
Is it
user,
sitting
then
root
you,
user?
No, no.
Switching to root user.
Sorry.
When you are in the test user, for switching to the root user, you use sudo.
Okay. I'll ask you one more question before asking this one as well. If you want to switch from one user to another user in Linux operating system, does anyone know what is a command?
It's you have to put sudo switch user. So sudo space su.
Switch user, su command, right? Switch user. Then why we are passing sudo space -i? Why it is called sudo space -i? I'll tell you now. For example, you logged into sudo user. Let us say in my case, it is test user. Someone told that. Test user, right? I'm a sudo user. From the sudo user, if I need to log into a root user directly, not any other user, root user, I have to go for sudo space -i. Got the point? Is that clear?
Yes.
So the -i flag is used when you want to become any other user.
No.
Is that what
Su command we use for if you want to switch to any other user.
Mhm.
Okay, let me tell you. Sudo space -i is a command which will be executed by the sudo user in order to switch to the root user. As simple as that statement. Okay. Now keeping that aside, now I want to log in from one user to another user. Whether he is a sudo user, root user, normal user, I doesn't care. I want to switch from one user, which I've already logged into the system. I want to switch to another user. It is not login. You have to just say that you already logged into the system with some user. I need to switch to another user from there. In those conditions, what you have to use? Su, switch user. And then you need to pass hyphen. It is so important. I'll tell you what is that as well. Su is a nothing but switch user. Hyphen, space. Let us say I want to switch to Sudham's user right now. Did I switched? Okay. In Windows system, we have right. If I give Alt Control D, it will go to the login page. From there, I can switch. You'll see some option called switch user, similar to that. The command what I've executed right now. Any confusion part right now? Sudo space -I and su command difference. For freshers, it is so important to understand. I mean to say freshers in the sense new to this topic. See, if you, I repeat the sentence once again, finally, you logged into a system as a sudo user. Now from there, you want to switch to the root user. You have to go for sudo space -I. You might ask a question, why can't we use su hyphen and root? Any answers to that? If someone knows about it, why I'm saying sudo space -I, why can't you use su hyphen root from the sudo user as well? It's nothing but switching, right? Any answers to that? Who knows about it?
Hyphen I, what I heard, it will interact you whether you, it will ask you whether you want to switch or not, right?
SU also does the same thing, right? My question is, both does the same thing. Then why don't you use su hyphen root from the sudo user to go to the root user? Why are you using sudo space -I? In sudo space -I, it will ask you your password of the sudo user password to switch to the root user. Whereas when you give su hyphen, it will ask you the root user password. Do you know the root user password? No. Okay. So you can't do it like that. Got the point, right? What I'm trying to say. Here, why it is not asked a password? If that is my sentence, you immediately will ask a question saying that. You
Well,
might have a
because you're
question in the mind. Why it has not asked any password here?
because
See,
it's
a
the
lot of
privileged,
combinations, right? Sorry?
it's super user, right? That's
Since
why
I'm a
it's
root
did not.
user.
Yeah.
Exactly. Since I'm a root user. Okay. To answer that question as well. Maybe. Let me try to switch from test user to Sudham's user. Okay. SU hyphen. Now it is asking a password. Tell me which password it is. Is it a test user password or Sudham's user password?
Test user. I mean, Sudham, sorry.
Sudham's user. Exactly. So I'll ask a simple question. Test user knows the Sudham's user password? No, right? So obviously I cannot do that. I'm telling you the scenarios. Okay. So this is how it is. Okay. So this is all about user creation and what is the difference between sudo space -I, which I told you in the starting session, right? For now, just remember. Now today you have understood what is sudo space -I, in what conditions we have to provide it. See, this is like something that you should not fall into a situation where when you go into the IT industry, let us in real-time scenarios, you should not get confused when someone asks you. You have to be in a position to tell someone right. Okay, you cannot search in front. See, someone, let us say, the situations in live industry will be something like sometimes you have to troubleshoot on a live call where your client, everybody will be there. So you should not get confused whether I have to use sudo space -I or su hyphen and all. They will understand. You don't know the concept. So that's the reason. Okay, practice. That's all. And listen to this particular audio and video. Okay, the recorded session, what we have, that will be shared. So that
Sure.
practice thoroughly, listen to it. Now, the final thing is how to delete a user. We have seen how to see, you can see when I'm giving this one, it is asking sudo user password to switch to the root user, not the root user password. That's make a difference. Um, yeah. How to delete a user? There are two commands again. Either we can use user del delete or del user means delete user. User delete or delete user, whatever it is. So let me show you user del. What are the options we have to pass? If you don't know, simple thing, -f and help. If you want to delete the user forcefully, removal of user still logged in. What is the meaning of this? Any guess? At least some particular thing that you have understood. Somewhere nearby answer is also fine for me.
The current user which you are going to be removing,
Hmm?
the removal still.
No, I mean to say, why I need to pass this option? I can just give user del and the username, it should delete, right? Technically. In what conditions I
It,
have to pass this option?
it forcefully deletes it.
Even though his
Okay.
session was
You're there already, right? So you cannot delete the same.
So let us say right now I'm planning to delete a user called Sudams. That Sudams user has logged into my system. He is doing some particular task. Okay. Now I'm planning to delete that user. It will not get deleted. I'll tell you. You can say I've already logged in here, right? Okay. Now, if I try to delete, what it is trying to say, there is a process ID called number 2035, which is currently used by Sudam's user. So, which means technically you are doing some action. Maybe you logged in, you are trying to perform some activity, still he is logged in. So you cannot delete. That's what it is trying to say. Got it? In those conditions, if you want to forcefully delete, even though he's logged in, example, that's what it is trying to say. Then what you have to do? Hyphen F. Got the point, right? Practically you are able to see now. Next question, which option is hyphen R? Why we have to pass this option? I'll take only 2 minutes, then we'll wind up the session. Yeah. In what conditions I have to use hyphen R option? Anything that you are able to understand from here?
So you can remove the
It
user's home
requires
directory.
Home directory. So what is a Sudams user's home directory? It is /home/Sudams. You can see here as well. This is Sudams user's home directory. I'm the owner of it. The test user is the owner of it. Fine. Now, when you're deleting the user from this user del with this name, it will not delete the home directory of the user. One of the interview question I'll ask you. Okay. Let us say I executed this command. Right now I logged out. You understood this one, right? I will log out. Now I can execute this command. It will not throw this particular error. It will delete the user. Fine. Delete the user in the sense what? It will remove this entries from the file as well. Password file, shadow file, group file as well. Okay. The first question which I have is this home directory will not get deleted, right? Then who will be the owner of it? You deleted your user and group. When you try to delete a user, the primary group also will get deleted of that user because it will be on the same name or maybe different name. That's why. Now, who will be the owner of this particular directory? That is an interview question. What you will answer?
The,
You will not see
you
Sudams and Sudams here, right?
Let me ask you a question. The pseudo user is the one that will own the directory, correct?
Yeah. No. Every user will have its own directory. That home directory will be owned by that specific user. Forget about sudo or whatever it is. Normal user
Okay.
as well. See, he's a normal user, right? That is the case then.
Yes.
My question is, if you delete a user got deleted from the system, but the home directory is still available, then who will be the owner of this particular directory of the user?
after
He got
deleting, how it will be available in that
So
home
Dams
directory?
will still be the owner.
No, the user got deleted. You can't see that, right?
It's
So
the
who's going
UID
to
and
own
the
the
GID.
directory?
Exactly. UID, GID will be the owner of it. Every
Oh, I
user
got
will
you.
have an ID, right? When I created this user, the ID is 1001. The group ID, primary group ID is 1001. They will become the owner of it. That's one of the interview question which someone asked me long back. Okay. Let me show you practical. Okay. To understand this concept.
But those users are deleted, right?
Yeah.
So
User got deleted. You cannot log in. You cannot switch to that
but
user.
yeah,
Hmm.
but how these group IDs are associated with that users are still exist?
Because the home directory exists, which is owned by that user. What you will do in those conditions, you cannot assign someone here, right? What
Mhm.
operating system? That is a behavior of the operating system. The user ID, group ID, what is used earlier by that user, it has that information, right, in the file. That
Mhm.
user ID, group ID will be assigned to this particular home directory.
Okay.
Now, the question is, I'll come to your question again. I'll ask you the same question. Now, if you try to create a new user with some name with the same ID, then what will happen? Will that get created or not? First question is, you understood my question? I'll create a new user with some, let us say, Harish or something like that, with the same ID, user ID, group ID. Now, what will happen? Whether user will get created or not,
No.
Will
will
create
get created, will get created. Second thing, then who will be the owner of this particular directory?
Harish.
Harish. Exactly. So name doesn't matter. Okay. Though it is Sudham's user, because we have deleted and created a new user with the same ID and all, the name will be Sudham's. But who will be the owner of it? Harish. So Harish has the permissions to go inside this particular directory, create something, delete something. He has all the permissions. All these are probabilities. We have to
Suppose
think.
if Sudham, suppose if Sudham have some created some other directory when he was a user,
Uh-huh.
after deleting those directory created by Sudham will be there or it
Will
also
be
get
there
deleted.
and it will be owned by, it will be there and it will be having the user ID and group ID as a ownership.
So when we create a new user, at the time, what will happen?
That user will become ownership because that user is having the same ID, right?
But
Obviously.
but the directories created by Sudham will be there for Harish also.
Yes. See, the now
Yeah.
Sudham's user is not there. So who will be the owner of it? Whichever new user you have created with some X name with the same ID, obviously he will be the owner of it. See, names doesn't matter. That's what I see. The conclusion part of this one is names doesn't matter. Who has the permissions, they can access it. Got the point what I'm trying to say? That's the reason I asked you this question.
Yeah. Yes.
Finally, it doesn't matter. Who has the permissions, who is the owner of it, they can access it.
One UID can be two users.
No, you can't. No, that's not possible. Unique ID itself is unique, right? You can't duplicate it. Same ID cannot be used to multiple users.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Okay.
So
Now,
is it necessary to know the manual method to add a user as well?
no. So technically, we use some applications or maybe some programs and all, right? In real time scenarios, we don't create a users like this. Actually, we integrate the systems with Active Directory or something like that, and we create. Okay.
Mm. Only
Or
root user
else,
can able to delete.
sorry, come again.
Oh, only root user can able to delete the sudo.
No. If other users, if I give permission, they can also delete. If I give sudo from a test user, if I give sudo user del, it will work.
Okay, sure.
I triggered the command as a sudo user, but in the backend, it will get executed by whom? Root.
Yeah. Yes. Okay.
Now, user del, let me give that command and show you practically. Now, user got deleted. Fine. You can just check like this as well, whether user got deleted or not. Done? Now, what about the ownership? Let's come to that point. For all your questions to be answered, you can see. Now, do we have any directories under that? Yes, I think I have created some of them. No. Okay. Now, let me try to create a new user quickly, much faster. Let us say Harish. Some dummy password, test1234. Test one. Is it assigning the same ID? You can see 1001, 1001 is free right now. No one is occupied with that. So it is getting assigned. I'll not give any details here. Enter. Now, what happened right now? There is a little bit change in my sentence. It has created a new home directory. But if you look at the old home directory of that user, is changed it to Harish and Harish. Now the question is, if I switch to that user, where I will be right now, whether I will be in this particular directory or in this directory.
In
Yeah.
Harish.
Harish directory,
In
because the home directory which is allocated to me, I'll answer my statement as well. which I've corrected. Okay. Let me try to give grep Harish. Harish. Yeah. Hmm. Whatever you see here, that's your home directory. Fine. Now, if I try to switch, done. Okay, I can create some files and all that doesn't matter. Now, can I utilize this particular directory? You can. For example, I will try to switch to that particular my user's home directory. From here, let me try to create some files under /home/sudhams. I'll try to create some file, demo file. Whether I was able to create or not. First question. Am I able to create? Yes. Right? You can see here. Same thing. Let me try to perform under test user. I'll show you the proof. Do I have the permissions to the test user home directory? No. Why? Because that owned by me? Who is the owner of this particular directory? Harish right now. Am I able to execute the command? Yes, I am. I'm able to create a file. Okay. And I will be able to create a files in my home directory as well. That is by default. Since you are the owner of this particular directory, you have the permissions to do some activity on this particular file. Ownership is the most important. Permissions, I will talk about that. This is called as ownership. Ownership in the sense user ownership, group ownership. Ownership, we have two categories: user ownership, group ownership. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll continue. This is sufficient for today. I will stop here. If you have any questions, please ask me now. I
Either
think you
we can
better
leave
go
the
through the video and try to practice for what are the questions and answers I've given. You will, if you do it practically, you can remember that. Yes,
yes.
please.
Suppose if we are creating a new user, so
Mhm.
without getting the access of Sudam user, can we create a new user?
Then what you have to do, you have to delete this directory if you really don't want to use it, or change the user ID group ID of this particular directory to something else. That is
Okay,
administrative task.
removing is different. Removing the deleting the user different, and removing the directory is different.
Is
Yeah.
different. See, if you
Yeah.
want, that's what I've asked here. So if you want to remove the home user with the along with the home directory, try to pass this option.
Yeah.
But we have not given intentionally, right? Since we want
Yeah.
to learn this concept. Sometimes there will be a requirement where I want to delete the user, but I don't want to delete the home directory because maybe tomorrow I want to recreate it. In those
Yes.
conditions, you should not give that option. Requirement. It's see, this is all about requirement. According to the situation, you have to decide. That's where our knowledge comes into, right? What are we are learning here right now? So you have to be in a position to decide based on the requirement. Decision making, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Understand.
Yep, yep. Better you practice once again also, you will get some more picture, maybe some questions as well. That we can discuss tomorrow.
Yeah. Sure.
Okay. I'll upload this particular document, guys. So let me do one thing. What is that? I'll upload here itself. Image. Linux. Oh, this is in another directory. Let me do one thing. I'll copy it from another team. Mhm. Then why it is not showing here? It's fine. Downloads. So the document is uploaded, guys. You can just download it from here. Okay. So people who have joined, I can check here. Only 2 people have joined. So rest of the people, please join this particular classroom so that you can see all the documents from here onwards, whatever I upload or want to share. That will become easy for me as well. Thank you. That's all for today.